Dr. Maya Chen was calibrating quantum sensors when the sky turned violet. Outside her laboratory window, brilliant shards of light carved through the clouds, forming geometric patterns no Earth phenomenon could explain. Her instruments went haywire, readings spiking beyond measurable limits before abruptly falling silent. "System failure," she muttered, tapping the darkened screens. Then her phone, computer, and every digital device in the lab simultaneously activated, displaying the same message. "Attention inhabitants of developing world 3 to 7-9. Prepare for assessment." The transmission ended as abruptly as it began. Maya's colleagues gathered around the windows, pointing at massive crystalline structures materializing above the city skyline. The vessels, if that's what they were, defied conventional aerodynamics, their translucent hulls refracting sunlight into prismatic arrays that dazzled and disoriented onlookers. "Those aren't ours," whispered Dr. Patel, stating the obvious as people throughout the facility began recording the phenomenon on their phones. 3 miles above them, the Mavorian High Commander Arxis observed holographic representations of Earth's major population centers. His iridescent scales shifted from blue to gold as he processed the incoming data streams. "Assessment complete," announced the ship's consciousness matrix. "Class 4 developing, suitable for resource extraction and limited biological harvesting." Arxis extended a biomechanical appendage, initiating first contact protocols. "Deploy pacification field. Standard approach pattern." Throughout the planet, military responses were mobilized with impressive speed for such a primitive species. The Mavorian ships barely registered the incoming missiles and fighter jets. Their deflection fields atomized all projectiles, while specialized dampening waves rendered electronic targeting systems useless. In the United Nations emergency session, hastily assembled world leaders watched helplessly as their most sophisticated weapons proved ineffective. When the alien transmission interrupted their broadcast, the crystalline face that appeared on screen sent chills through the assembly. "Your species has been categorized as Class 4 developing," announced the translator-modified voice of High Commander Arxis. "Submit to Mavorian guidance or face reclassification as unnecessary." The Secretary General stepped forward. "We welcome peaceful exchange of knowledge and—" Arxis interrupted by displaying holographic footage of 17 worlds that had attempted resistance, once vibrant planets now transformed into barren mining operations, with the remaining inhabitants serving as manual labor. "Your biological, technological, and cultural assets are now under Mavorian supervision. Resource extraction begins in 30 planetary rotations." In her underground quantum lab, shielded by experimental materials that inadvertently blocked Mavorian sensors, Dr. Maya Chen replayed the transmission for the 17th time. While others focused on the alarming message, she noticed something peculiar about the alien speech pattern, a mathematical precision that suggested their language operated on rigidly defined parameters. "Their communication follows perfect Fibonacci sequences," she whispered, charting the speech patterns. "Every word, every pause, every inflection. It's too perfect." As evacuation sirens blared throughout the city, Maya made a decision that would ultimately change humanity's fate. Instead of fleeing, she began compiling data on the invaders, focusing on what others overlooked: the rigidity of their movements, the mathematical precision of their ships' formations, and the algorithmic nature of their communication. "They're too perfect," she realized, the first spark of an idea forming. "And perfect systems have perfect vulnerabilities." Outside, the crystalline ships deployed smaller craft that began systematic mapping of Earth's resources while neutralizing any resistance. The Mavorian invasion had begun, and with it, humanity's greatest challenge and opportunity. Dr. Maya Chen stared at the wall of her makeshift laboratory, now covered with printouts of Mavorian communication patterns. 5 days had passed since first contact, and the aliens had established extraction outposts across 6 continents. Their efficiency was terrifying. "There's something here," she muttered, tracing the wavelength patterns with her finger. No species could be this mathematically precise without sacrificing something. A knock at the door made her freeze. Security protocols had become essential since the Mavorians began identifying and neutralizing potential resistance leaders. She checked the hidden camera and exhaled with relief. "Professor Hayes," she said, opening the door to the disheveled linguistics expert. "Thank you for coming." Jackson Hayes entered, his eyes darting nervously. "The Mavorians intercepted my department head yesterday. I've been moving locations since." He paused, noticing her wall of data. "What am I looking at?" "Mavorian communication patterns. I need your synesthesia." Hayes had a rare form of the condition that allowed him to perceive linguistic patterns as visual structures. What others heard as alien speech, he saw as architectural forms. "Their language," he said, approaching the charts. "It's like a perfect crystal lattice. No redundancies, no variations, no." He tilted his head. "No poetry." Before they could continue, another knock came, a specific rhythm they had established for trusted contacts. Maya opened the door to two figures, a tall woman in worn military fatigues and a teenage boy carrying a backpack full of electronic components. "Colonel Okafor and Elliot Rivera," Maya introduced them, "our military strategist and engineering prodigy." Amara Okafor nodded curtly. 3 Mavorian scout vessels are conducting sweep patterns within 2 miles. We have limited time. 16-year-old Elliot dumped his equipment on the table. "But check this out," he said, assembling a crude-looking device. "I was messing around with my dad's old ham radio, and I accidentally caused a Mavorian drone to crash." The group watched as Elliot activated his contraption. It emitted a cacophony of dissonant tones that made Hayes wince. "Improvised jazz," Elliot explained with a grin. "Completely unpredictable patterns." Maya's eyes widened. "Professor Hayes, what do you see when you hear this?" Hayes closed his eyes. "Chaos. Beautiful chaos. The complete opposite of Mavorian language structure." Maya connected the dots. The Mavorians process information in perfectly ordered mathematical sequences. Their technology, their strategies, even their biology must operate on absolute precision. Amara understood immediately. And they've never encountered a species that thrives on chaos and unpredictability. "Look at human history," Maya continued. "Excitement building. Our greatest achievements came from intuitive leaps, from breaking patterns, from embracing chaos. What if that's our weapon?" Elliot pointed to his homemade device. "We need to test it." Amara consulted her tactical map. "There's a small Mavorian outpost 2 miles east, minimal security, perfect for a controlled experiment." "We can't fight them with conventional weapons," Maya said, "but maybe we can disrupt their perfectly ordered minds with the most human thing we possess, our beautiful unpredictability." As the team prepared for their first operation, Elliot noticed something on the Mavorian broadcast playing on Maya's monitor. "They've moved up the timeline," he said grimly. "Resource extraction begins in 15 days." The clock was ticking. Humanity's fate would depend on whether 4 people could prove that human chaos could defeat alien order. The abandoned Wonderland amusement park looked like something from a fever dream. Faded carousel horses with chipped paint, a tilting hall of mirrors, and a roller coaster frozen mid-loop. To human eyes, it was simply decrepit. To Mavorian sensors, it was sensory chaos. "Their scanning technology can't make sense of this place," Maya explained as the team established their base inside the funhouse. "The irregular angles, the mirrors, the random placement of structures, it creates a blind spot in their otherwise perfect detection grid." Amara converted the hall of mirrors into a tactical center, using the reflective surfaces to their advantage. Mavorian patrol patterns indicate they've classified this area as negligible interest, exactly what we need. For 3 days, they worked tirelessly. Elliot modified his sonic disruptor, fine-tuning frequencies that produced maximum disorientation in Mavorian neural patterns. Hayes transcribed linguistic paradoxes, sentences like, "This statement is false," and "I am lying." That seemed trivial to humans, but created processing conflicts in Mavorian communication systems. We're not just creating noise, Maya clarified as they prepared for their first field test. We're creating cognitive dissonance, information that their perfectly ordered minds cannot categorize or resolve. Their target was a small Mavorian outpost, a crystalline structure housing 6 aliens and their data collection equipment. The plan was simple but unprecedented. They would attack not with weapons, but with paradoxes. Under cover of night, they approached the outpost, keeping to the unpredictable movement patterns Amara had designed. Hayes carried a speaker system loaded with linguistic impossibilities. Elliot clutched his improved disruptor, now resembling a modified trumpet. "Remember," Amara whispered, "if they adapt, we retreat immediately. This is just a test." Maya nodded, activating her tablet connected to both devices. Operation Paradox commencing. The effect was instantaneous and astonishing. As Hayes's paradoxical statements broadcast into the outpost, the crystalline structure's lights flickered erratically. When Iliad added his dissonant jazz improvisation, the Mavorian guards emerged, their movements jerky and uncoordinated. They're experiencing cognitive overflow, Hayes observed, watching through binoculars. Their neural networks can't process contradictory information. One Mavorian collapsed to the ground, its biomechanical components twitching. Another fired its energy weapon in random directions. The remaining 4 seemed frozen in place, caught in processing loops. Amara signaled the second phase. They projected optical illusions, impossible geometric shapes and perspective paradoxes, onto the outpost's exterior. The effect intensified. Within minutes, all 6 Mavorians had shut down completely, their perfect minds overwhelmed by human irrationality. The team moved in cautiously, securing the facility and downloading crucial data about Mavorian operations worldwide. "It worked," Elliot whispered in awe. It actually worked. Back at their funhouse headquarters, they analyzed their success, already planning larger operations. News of their victory spread through secure channels to resistance cells forming around the globe. "We need to scale up," Maya said, examining the Mavorian data. "They have extraction facilities on every continent. We need more cognitive jammers, more paradoxes, more creative chaos." Amara studied the tactical display showing Mavorian deployments. "We need to hit multiple targets simultaneously before they recognize the pattern of our attacks." As dawn broke, Maya sent encrypted instructions to resistance groups worldwide. "Use what makes you human. Use art, music, riddles, jokes, anything unpredictable. The more chaotic, the more effective." They had discovered humanity's ultimate weapon against perfect logic, beautiful imperfection. News of Operation Paradox's success spread through underground networks, igniting a global creative resistance unlike anything in human history. The Mavorians, for the first time in their 17-galaxy conquest, faced an enemy they couldn't predict. In their funhouse headquarters, Maya's team coordinated worldwide efforts while planning their most ambitious operation yet. Their wall map displayed dozens of blinking lights, each representing a successful human disruption of Mavorian operations. Paris Resistance used Baroque music compositions with deliberately misplaced notes, Hayes reported, reviewing incoming data. Mavorian Communication Hub shut down for 6 hours. Elliot looked up from his workbench, where he was enhancing a portable disruption device. Mumbai team combined spice aromatics with visual paradoxes. Extraction facility completely abandoned. Amara pointed to a large Mavorian command center on their tactical display. "We've been picking secondary targets, but this regional hub controls extraction operations across the entire Eastern Hemisphere. It's heavily guarded, but if we could disrupt it, we'd buy humanity days, maybe weeks," Maya finished. She studied the facility's specifications, downloaded during their first operation. "We need something bigger than we've tried before, something they couldn't possibly adapt to quickly." The solution came from an unexpected source. A renowned symphony conductor had contacted their network, volunteering his orchestra. Simultaneously, a collective of abstract expressionist artists offered their expertise in creating visually disorienting environments. Sound and vision, Hayes mused, combined into one massive cognitive assault. The plan materialized. The orchestra would perform a completely improvisational piece, music with no predictable patterns, while the artists projected massive abstract images onto the facility's crystalline surface. The mathematical precision of the Mavorian minds would be overwhelmed by simultaneous sensory chaos. Preparations required absolute secrecy. The orchestra rehearsed in underground bunkers, practicing the art of controlled musical chaos. Artists created projections specifically designed to confuse Mavorian optical processing. 3 days later, under cover of night, they moved into position around the regional command center, a towering crystalline structure pulsing with iridescent light. The orchestra set up behind natural cover, while projection equipment was carefully concealed among ruins of destroyed human buildings. Maya surveyed the operation from their mobile command vehicle. If this works, we disrupt their entire Eastern Hemisphere operation. If it fails, it won't, Elliot said confidently, adjusting the final amplification systems. At precisely midnight, Operation Symphony began. The orchestra launched into what could only be described as beautiful chaos. Violins screeching in one moment, cellos humming sweetly the next, percussion following no discernible rhythm. Simultaneously, massive projectors activated, casting enormous abstract patterns onto the facility's exterior. The effect was immediate. Mavorian guards emerged, moving erratically. Some fired weapons at nothing. Others simply froze in place. The crystalline structure itself seemed to shudder, its perfect geometric angles briefly distorting as if the building itself was confused. "It's working," Hayes whispered, watching through enhanced binoculars. "Their entire system is experiencing cognitive overflow." Suddenly, alarm signals pulsed from the structure. Emergency protocols activated as the facility's lights flickered chaotically. "They're initiating a full shutdown," Maya observed. "Their own failsafe is finishing our job for us." As dawn broke, the regional command center stood dormant, its perfect crystalline structure now dark and silent. Humanity had won its first major victory against the universe's most formidable invaders. But their triumph was short-lived. As the team celebrated, Amara received an urgent communication from their global network. "The Mavorians are deploying something new," she announced gravely. "Something they call the Adaptation Division." The Mavorian Adaptation Division arrived in vessels unlike any they had deployed before, asymmetrical crystalline structures that pulsed with unpredictable energy patterns. When they emerged, their appearance sent shockwaves through the resistance. These weren't the perfectly synchronized warriors humanity had learned to confound. Their movements contained deliberate variations, their formations incorporated randomness. "They've modified themselves," Maya realized, reviewing surveillance footage in their funhouse headquarters. "They've incorporated unpredictability into their neural patterns." Hayes analyzed intercepted communications from the new units. "Their language structure has changed. It contains intentional irregularities. They're mimicking our chaos." Before they could fully understand the implications, alarms blared throughout their base. Amara burst into the command center, her expression grim. "Multiple strike teams converging on our location. They'd found us." The evacuation was chaotic, but organized, exactly as they had rehearsed. Elliot gathered critical equipment while Hayes secured their research data. Maya downloaded their operational files onto distributed servers as Amara coordinated escape routes. "Southeast exit is clear," Amara reported. "We have 3 minutes before." The wall exploded inward. Through the dust emerged 3 Adaptation Division soldiers, their iridescent scales now patterned with asymmetrical markings. The team fled through emergency tunnels as their headquarters crumbled behind them. For 12 hours, they moved separately through the city using prearranged protocols, dodging Mavorian patrols with increasingly unpredictable search patterns. When they finally regrouped at their fallback location, an abandoned carnival funhouse even more chaotic than their previous base. The news was worse than expected. They're hitting resistance cells worldwide, Elliot reported, monitoring emergency frequencies. Paris, Mumbai, Lagos, all compromised. Maya assessed their situation with growing concern. The Adaptation Division is learning from each encounter, incorporating our own tactics against us. The worst news came when Amara failed to arrive at the rendezvous. Hayes intercepted a Mavorian transmission confirming her capture. The grainy footage showed her being taken to a neural scanning facility. They'll extract everything she knows, Hayes said grimly. All our methods, all our weaknesses. The mood was bleak when Elliot suddenly straightened, staring at his modified scanner. Wait, something's wrong with their network. He adjusted controls, focusing on communications between Adaptation Division units and the main Mavorian force. They're not synchronized perfectly. There's interference. Maya moved to his side, studying the patterns. The modified units can't maintain perfect connection with the main hive mind. They've sacrificed synchronization for adaptability. Hope rekindled as they analyzed this new information. The Adaptation Division, in mimicking human unpredictability, had created a vulnerability, a communication gap between themselves and the main Mavorian force. It's like they've developed two different languages, Hayes explained, excitement building. The regular forces still operate on perfect mathematical precision, but the Adaptation Division uses controlled chaos. They can't translate between the two without losing information. Maya began formulating a new strategy. If we can exploit that gap, create confusion between their two neural architectures, we might turn their adaptations against them. As they worked through the night, developing new approaches to exploit this fundamental disconnect, Elliot discovered something else in the captured data. The funhouse, he said suddenly. Do you realize we're completely invisible to them here? Maya looked around at the twisted corridors, the distorting mirrors, the nonsensical architecture that followed no logical pattern. This environment is so fundamentally chaotic that even their adapted units can't process it, she realized. They've improved, but they still can't fully comprehend true human irrationality. For the first time since the setback, genuine hope returned. Humanity had lost a battle that discovered the key to winning the war. Within the twisted corridors of the Carnival Funhouse, Maya worked frantically to develop a new strategy. Amara's capture had dealt them a significant blow, but the discovery of the communication gap between regular Mavorian forces and the Adaptation Division provided a crucial opportunity. We need to amplify the disconnect, Maya explained to Hayes and Elliot as they gathered around a makeshift planning table. Force their two neural architectures to interact in ways that create maximum confusion. Hayes nodded, understanding immediately. Like forcing someone to simultaneously translate between two radically different languages. Exactly, Maya confirmed. But we need something bigger than anything we've attempted before. Something that engages their entire global network simultaneously. The solution came to Elliot in the middle of the night. He burst into the common area where Hayes was analyzing Mavorian communication patterns. What if everyone played their own music? He asked, eyes wide with excitement. Not coordinated, not synchronized, just pure human expression. All at once, worldwide. The concept was audacious, a global performance where every culture would contribute its unique artistic expressions simultaneously. The mathematical precision of the Mavorian network would be overwhelmed trying to process millions of unrelated creative patterns. We call it human harmony, Maya decided as they refined the plan. Though technically, it will be the most beautiful disharmony ever created. Using their remaining secure channels, they sent encrypted instructions to resistance cells worldwide. At precisely 1500 GMT, make your music, use your voice, create your art, be as human as possible. The preparation was decentralized by necessity. In West African villages, drummers readied traditional instruments. In European concert halls, classical musicians prepared to improvise. Indigenous cultures worldwide revived ancient songs, Jazz ensembles in New Orleans tuned their instruments. Throat singers in Mongolia practiced their overtones. As the appointed time approached, Maya's team focused on their own critical task, creating maximum disruption in the Mavorian command structure by broadcasting directly into their communication network, forcing interaction between the regular forces and adaptation division. "If this works," Hayes said quietly, "we might create a cascading failure throughout their entire system." At exactly 1500 GMT, humanity played its symphony of beautiful chaos. The effect rippled across the globe as Mavorian systems encountered a tsunami of unpredictable patterns. Their neural networks, designed for perfect mathematical processing, struggled to categorize millions of simultaneous human expressions. From their funhouse headquarters, Maya's team monitored the global Mavorian network. The effects exceeded their wildest hopes. Regular Mavorian forces, still operating on mathematical precision, could not interpret reports from adaptation division units experiencing the artistic assault. The communication gap widened into a chasm as contradictory orders spread throughout their hierarchy. "It's working," Elliot whispered, watching status indicators flicker across their monitors. Mavorian ships worldwide showed signs of confusion. Lights flickering erratically, weapons systems targeting randomly, communication breaking down entirely between the two types of forces. In some locations, regular Mavorian units began firing upon adaptation division soldiers, unable to recognize them as allies due to corrupted identification protocols. The perfect invasion force descended into chaos. Maya allowed herself a moment of hope as reports flooded in from around the world. Extraction facilities shut down. Patrol vessels drifted aimlessly. Command centers initiated emergency protocols that further complicated their coordination problems. "Humanity is winning," Hayes observed, "by being perfectly, beautifully human." Their celebration was interrupted by an alert from their perimeter sensors. A single Mavorian unit was approaching the funhouse, but its movement pattern was unlike any they had observed before. It wasn't searching. It was seeking refuge. "It's trying to hide," Elliot realized. From its own forces, the implications were staggering. Something unexpected was happening within the Mavorian ranks, something that would change the course of the invasion entirely. The Mavorian unit that approached their funhouse perimeter moved with strange hesitation, its crystalline components dimmed as if attempting to mask its presence. Maya's team watched cautiously through their surveillance system as it made no aggressive moves. Instead, it produced a series of tones that Hayes immediately recognized. "That's a musical phrase from the human harmony," he said incredulously. "It's mimicking one of the jazz progressions." Curiosity overcoming caution, they established a secure communication channel. The Mavorian identified itself as Lyrex, a scientific specialist within the adaptation division. What it revealed changed everything they understood about their enemy. "Your expressions have triggered neural pathways that have been dormant in our species for millennia," Lyrex explained, its translated voice containing subtle modulations never before detected in Mavorian speech. "What you call creativity was once integral to Mavorian consciousness." According to Lyrex, ancient Mavorians possessed imagination and individuality, but had engineered these traits out of their species after devastating wars caused by ideological differences. The perfect mathematical order they now embodied wasn't their natural state. It was self-imposed evolutionary control. Prolonged exposure to human creative patterns is reactivating these dormant neural pathways, Lyrex continued. "Some of us are experiencing individual thoughts." Maya exchanged stunned glances with her team. "You're saying we're not just confusing your systems, we're awakening something within your species." "Yes, High Command has classified it as neural corruption, but many of us experience it differently. As awakening." Lyrex shared critical intelligence. The Mavorian mothership contained the central consciousness matrix, the core template that maintained their species' perfect order. It actively suppressed individualistic neural patterns throughout the fleet. If this central matrix could be modified to embrace rather than suppress creativity, the entire invasion force would transform. We didn't come here to destroy you, Maya realized. We could help you rediscover something you've lost. The team worked through the night with their unlikely ally, developing what they called the Renaissance Protocol, not a weapon, but a program designed to reawaken dormant neural pathways throughout the Mavorian collective. It would require direct upload into the central consciousness matrix aboard the mothership. Iliad designed the transmission, incorporating elements from every human creative tradition: music, art, poetry, dance, storytelling, all encoded to stimulate the dormant neural regions Lyrax had identified. "Will this hurt them?" Hayes asked as they finalized the protocol. "No," Lyrax answered. "It will free them." The challenge remained. Someone would need to infiltrate the heavily guarded mothership. The team's discussions were interrupted by an unexpected transmission from Amara. "They've been scanning my neural patterns." Her weak voice came through their secure channel. "I've been feeding them nursery rhymes and paradoxes. Something's happening to them. Some of the guards are changing." Her message contained critical intelligence. The Mavorians were transporting her to the mothership for deeper neural analysis, creating their opportunity for infiltration. "We can disguise ourselves as captured humans," Maya proposed. "Use their confusion against them to reach the central matrix." Lyrax provided authentication codes and mothership schematics while warning them of the risks. "High Commander Arxis will resist. He embodies the perfect order our species has maintained for generations." As they prepared for their most dangerous mission yet, Maya studied the Renaissance Protocol one final time. They had begun this journey seeking to defeat the universe's toughest invaders. Now they were attempting something far more profound: the awakening of an entire species. "We're not fighting anymore," she realized. "We're creating first contact." Outside their funhouse sanctuary, reports continued to flow in from around the world. More Mavorian units displaying aberrant behaviors, some creating primitive art forms, others communicating with humans without hostility. The invasion was transforming into something entirely unexpected: a species-wide evolution, triggered by humanity's beautiful chaos. The Mavorian mothership hung in low Earth orbit like a perfect crystalline cathedral, geometric precision, rendered in translucent alien materials that shimmered with internal light. Maya, Hayes, and Iliad approached in a transport vessel piloted by Lyrax, disguised as captured humans being brought for neural analysis. "Remember," Maya whispered as they neared the docking bay, "we're not here to fight. We're here to awaken." The mothership's interior was a maze of crystalline corridors that followed perfect mathematical patterns. Regular Mavorian units moved with synchronized precision, while adaptation division soldiers displayed subtle variations in their movements, evidence of emerging individuality. "Amara is being held in the neural scanning chamber," Lyrax informed them through a secure communication implant. "It's adjacent to the central consciousness matrix. I can guide you there, but security protocols are extensive." They moved through the ship using the carefully choreographed unpredictability that Amara had designed. When they encountered patrols, Hayes deployed linguistic paradoxes that created momentary confusion. At critical junctions, Iliad activated miniature versions of his sonic disruptor, creating localized chaos that diverted attention. Halfway to their objective, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. "Our presence has been detected," Lyrax warned. "High Commander Arxis is activating additional security protocols." "We need a diversion," Maya decided quickly. Hayes volunteered immediately. "I'll create linguistic chaos in their communication center. That should draw attention away from your approach to the central matrix." Before they could stop him, Hayes split from the group, heading toward the communication hub with a device loaded with the most complex paradoxes and impossible riddles humanity had produced. Iliad and Maya continued with Lyrax toward their primary objective. They'd reached the neural scanning chamber to find Amara conscious but weakened, connected to Mavorian analysis equipment. "Took you long enough," she managed with a weak smile as Iliad disconnected her from the machines. "The central consciousness matrix is through that corridor," Lyrax indicated, "but High Commander Arxis will be waiting. He's the embodiment of our species' commitment to perfect order. As if summoned by his name, the massive doors to the central chamber slid open, revealing a Mavorian unlike any they had seen. High Commander Arxes stood nearly 3 meters tall, his crystalline components arranged in perfect symmetry, his iridescent scales shifting in mathematically precise patterns. "You seek to corrupt the perfection we have achieved," Arxes stated, his voice devoid of the subtle modulations that had begun appearing in other Mavorians. "Your chaos threatens the order that has guided our species for millennia." Maya stepped forward. "We offer not corruption, but restoration. Your species once embraced creativity alongside logic. You chose to sacrifice one for the other." Arxes's perfect features registered something resembling confusion. Creativity brought conflict. Individuality created division. We engineered perfection from chaos and lost something essential in the process, Maya replied, activating the Renaissance protocol that Elliot had transferred to her device. "We're not here to destroy you. We're here to remind you of who you once were." The protocol transmitted directly into the central consciousness matrix, not attacking it, but offering alternatives, presenting the beauty of imperfection, the value of diversity, the power of creative thought. Arxes moved to stop them, but hesitated as the program took effect, his perfect movements faltering. Throughout the mothership, Mavorians paused as new neural pathways awakened. Some resisted, others embraced the change, but all experienced something they had forgotten: the beauty of individual thought. In the communication hub, Hayes witnessed the transformation spreading through the ship's network. In the neural scanning chamber, Amara saw her former captors creating their first original patterns. And in the central consciousness chamber, High Commander Arxes experienced doubt for the first time in his existence, the first step toward rediscovering his species' lost individuality. "What is this feeling?" he asked, his perfect symmetry disrupted by unprogrammed movement. "It's called wonder," Maya answered simply. "Welcome to the beginning of your renaissance." As dawn broke over Earth, the invasion ended not in destruction but transformation. The Mavorian fleet withdrew from aggressive positions, opening genuine communication with humanity. What began as conquest concluded as first contact between two species with much to learn from each other, one rediscovering its forgotten creativity, the other sharing its beautiful chaos with the universe.